Hello everyone. Today I'm going to walk you through our watercolor techniques and show you how each one of these is going to look with our watercolor. Remember, watercolor is transparent, but we can still get light and dark tones. So we're going to start with our darkest tone. Darkest tone doesn't necessarily mean darkest color. So I'm going to choose a nice light color and show you that darkest tone is going to be the most saturated. So I'll take red, I think, a nice bright red. So that means that is going to be a really nice rich color, and there's going to be more color than water. So it is going to be nice and bright, nice and dark. Okay, I can do that same color and get the lightest tone, and you'd have the most amount of water and the least amount of color. So it's going to be really faint, almost as if you can't see it. And this is really good for backgrounds and base colors, base tones, because then you can do your layering and shading on top of that. An even wash is when you are doing a background and you want to have a really nice even tone. So you're going to make this without any streaks, without any puddles, and you're going to try to get this as smooth as possible. So sometimes you might have to pick up some more color and just kind of keep blending that so that you have this really nice even patch of color on there. Wet on wet is really good for filling in backgrounds. It's really good for filling in large spaces, or if you need to get in specific spaces. So you're going to wet your paper first, and then you can go ahead and add your color. And the really nice thing about wet on wet technique is the paint will only go where the water is. So it's not going to go beyond that. So if I accidentally kind of leak some paint into that area, it'll bleed into this already. I'll show you. So if I'm painting next to it, because it's wet, it's going to bleed into that there. So wet on wet is a really nice technique for either large areas in the background or if you want to keep it to a specific area. Wet on dry is quite literally going to be the dry paper. So this can be done on top of another color that you already have or on the dry paper. You're going to use the least amount of water and the most amount of color. This is going to be for details. So if I'm doing grass, if I'm doing feathers, if I'm just kind of blending some tone on top. So this is literally going to be your detail work or layering on top of a drier area. Fade is going to be going from darkest tone to lightest tone, but showing a gradient. We've already done this with colored pencils. We've already done this with our ebony pencil. So I like to put some tone down first, then rinse out my paintbrush and see if I can sweep that color so I have a nice gradient from light to dark. So you can see the lightest tone all the way up to the darkest tone. So this is if you need to create depth in an area. You'll see this in landscapes, skies mostly. Ooh, there's a fly in my paper. Blend, you are going to, you can blend in your palette or you can actually blend on your paper. And you're going to use the color rule, so you're going to start with a lighter color. So my lighter color is going to be orange, and if I want to make it a little darker, I can blend red right on top of it. So I can mix the two colors together right on top of that. Shade is going to be using two different colors to show a little bit of shading. So if I choose yellow, and I'm going to put down a yellow tone here, and I want to show that there's a little dimension to it, I can use a little bit of red here, and if I want, put that on the edge and show that gradient from the two different colors. So we did this with our color pencil assignment as well. So showing that there's a little bit of shadow or shading and bringing about some dimension within that with those two tones. Leaving white. Leaving white is probably one of the toughest, but if you're working with landscape and you are creating clouds, this is really important. There is no white watercolor. So what we need to do is we need to leave the white of the clouds. The clouds are white, the sky is blue. So I'm going to load my paintbrush full of paint and water, and I'm going to use the side of my paintbrush to kind of fluff the paint around. And I'm going to lift up and go to a different area, kind of leaving some of those open areas, and I can let that paint kind of run out of my paintbrush. I can always get some more paint, add a little on top. That'll show a little more dimension. I can get more water and I can kind of fluff some of that blue down a little. So showing these fades or gradients within this blue is going to give the illusion that we have clouds in the sky. So I'm using the side of my paintbrush with quite a bit of water, quite a bit of paint, and really kind of letting that kind of run and fluff, but leaving some of that white area in between so it gives the illusion of clouds.